What do you think one of the biggest obstacles is when people are trying to make their relationship work, but they're not seeing results?
Well, and this is going to sound really self-evident, but it's being selfish.
Yeah.
I mean, we all put our own needs above our teammates' needs. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that's just naturally the way we're wired. And in doing so, when you take it to extremes, or you just take it where you're being selfish, then that almost guarantees that the other person is going to be defensive and have to defend themselves. And the very thing that you want is your needs to be met, but in doing so, you're almost guaranteeing that they're not going to be met because the other person their needs aren't being met. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the ironies that we see, and one of the things that we say on the website is one person can change the relationship. And so many people say, well, it takes two people to change. Right. That's wrong. It doesn't. It takes one. Because when you behave differently towards somebody, they're going to notice that and they're going to behave differently towards you. Right. Maybe not immediately, but over time, you're creating an environment for positive change. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge concept, and I don't think people really understand that. They fall into that saying that, well, it takes two to tango, it takes two to change. Right. And it doesn't. Now having said that, I think that there are some principles that people need to be aware of. And, you don't run your car forever without stopping at the gas station. Mm-hmm. And you don't run it forever without taking it in for a tune-up and putting on new tires. So the marriage relationship is really no different. We all need tune-ups in our relationship. And when you start to feel like you're drifting apart and things aren't right and you're tense and the marriage isn't being healthy for you, I mean, that's a clear sign that you've gone too long without a tune-up. Sure. So, so get some help. Take action and don't just suffer through it. Because once a relationship starts to go like that, if there isn't conscious action to bring it back, it's just going to continue. Right. And there's a whole syndrome now of divorces called the walkout or the walkaway woman. And that psychologist I mentioned, Dr. Steve Stevens, wrote a book called The Walkout Woman. Okay. It's either walkout or walkaway woman. And people have been married 20, 25, 30 years, empty nest all of a sudden, and the woman's been trying to get the message through, and trying, and the gap has gotten so big, she's just totally burned out, and she leaves. And she won't come back to coaching or counseling or anything because she just doesn't see any hope. Right.
And I think a lot of women, I'll go back to personal responsibility in a second, but I'll lead off with a lot of women feel unheard, like you said, for years and years and years. They feel like they've been trying to get their message across, and they've been trying to say what it is that they need or some things to change, and they just, I'm going to say it falls on deaf ears, but now I'm going to qualify that a little bit and put personal responsibility in there, because it does go back to our programming, our playbook. And too many women, which I'm sure that you know in the work that you do, too many women, our playbook that was given to us is you don't ask for what you want. You hint at it. You leave a lot of hints, and you get mad when you don't get what you want. You get quiet and you shut down, and you might, kind of ask for what you want or kind of say, but I know that a large majority of our playbook is very passive. And then, like you said, once we've had it and we're fed up, well, now you're going to hear what we have to say, but it's too late.
Yeah. That's interesting, because one of the examples that Autumn uses, I mean, she came in with a play that said that if I loved her, I would know what she needed and wanted. Yeah. And that when I didn't, she didn't have to say it or ask. But when I didn't, that just showed that I didn't love her and care about her. Yeah, and therefore she could be righteously mad and angry at me, and I would have to try and figure out what was going on and what was wrong. And I'm just a dumb guy, and I didn't do a good job of figuring it out.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. And the work that I've done with women, I can tell you there is a large percentage of women who came from that same playbook. Yeah. That you just do, and you're. I'm not going to tell you what I want, because you should know. And if you don't know, you don't love me, you're an idiot, you never listen to me, you never care, all those things. So absolutely, I think it's more than just Autumn and I that share that, share that playbook. But what, just again, going to that recognition and helping couples become aware that this is going on, and that a lot of men, not to totally let them off the hook, but they don't hear anything that seems super significant to them until you say, "Hey, I'm done."
I'm leaving. Yeah.
They're like, "What do you mean? Where did that come from?"
Well, and then the book, The Walkout Woman, I mean, guys will typically say, "I thought we had a good marriage." Yeah. I mean, I knew there were a couple little things, but I didn't think there was any big deal. Yeah. I mean, as guys, we totally don't get it.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, and I think that as we're talking, I think that I'm glad that psychologist wrote that book, because that tiny piece of information is huge. Just people becoming aware of that concept.
And you know what you say, Edie? It is so simple.
Yeah.
But it just takes courage to speak up and to say that. But that's where the teamwork comes in, because early on, I'd see something was wrong. I'd say, "So what's the matter?" And she would say nothing.
Sure.
And so it became, I would have to encourage her. So I could say, "Well, honey, it sure seems like because of this, and this, and the way you're throwing dishes around or whatever, that there's something wrong." And when you're ready to talk about it, I'm here to listen.
Right.
Those are the kind of words that she wants to hear. Yeah. And typically what would happen, I'd start to get mad and angry because she wouldn't share with me. Right. And because of the way she grew up, her response to that was to leave the conversation and not come back. Mm-hmm. And therefore we'd have, a few days of silence or whatever. Yeah. So it just was very unhealthy. And we didn't know what we didn't know, and we didn't know how to change that pattern.
Right.
But the personal responsibility and the simplicity are the huge principles, and the coaches really do focus